Hello and welcome to the Saturday night Untitled Anarchist CGL channel stream. I've got something a little bit different to start out. It's something I just thought of doing over coffee. I call it my favorite blunder. See, anyone who's ever played with me knows I play the English a lot. In fact, when I'm playing white, it's basically all I play. I do. And a lot of people aren't really all that familiar with playing the English, so they often do a certain series of moves that I just warms my heart, because I know I'm going to probably have a very early win. So as a public service, I'm going to show you what this blunder is and how you can avoid it. Okay. Now, a lot of people are familiar with lines starting with the E4, E5, and if black isn't careful here, of course, you've got this knight on G5, pointed right at F2, you've got this, you've got this bishop also pointed at F2, and because this pawn is all the way up here, there's really not a whole lot that can be done about any of that. And you're either going to be losing the ability to castle. Well, actually, yeah, you're probably going to be losing that too, but you're almost certainly going to be losing a major piece. Now, here's the thing. That works because of this E4 move that started out the entire game. In the English, on the other hand, you don't play E4. You play C4. And then E5, that is actually theory. It's also what pretty much everybody I play the English against plays, probably just because they're used to it, not necessarily because they know theoretical lines in the English. Okay. Getting ready to fianchetto the bishop. Here we have this bishop here pointed right at F2. Bishop gets fianchettoed. Knight gets brought out. This is all very standard theory right now. Heavily endorsed by Tony Costin in The Dynamic English, which is a great book if you're interested in learning about the English and different things you can do with it. Absolutely great book. And it's all based on this line that is with G3 on move 2 and Knight C3 only on move 4. Now, okay, so you've got that wonderful bishop here pointed right at F2. And so what does black do? Well, they set up the attack, thinking that they can do it just like they do it when it is. Let me flip that over so it's easier to... How do you flip this thing? Board. Okay. Just like you would in an E4, E5 line. Except here's the problem. Now, this bishop is stuck pointing into E3, which is useless for the bishop, and there's nothing else pointing on F2, so the now, at this point, I found a lot of people don't only recognize half of the significance of pushing this E3 move here. You know, they can see that this is going to be, this prevents anything with the bishop. But then they say, okay, but Queen F6 is mate in 1, isn't it? And no, it fucking isn't. That's hanging the knight, because the other thing that E2 move does is open a discovered attack from my queen right to their knight. Now, of course, if they had played D6 or D5 at some point, then I couldn't have done that. I mean, the attack still wouldn't have worked, but at least they would still have that knight. And so they think, okay, I'm going to open up a discovered attack on the queen now. Except they haven't castled. So I'm taking that bishop with check. Now, the best move, as far as I am aware, would be to put that queen in there, offer a trade of queens, and the best move is then to refuse that trade of queens, because you can just take the rook on the next move. Although sometimes people will just sort of jump the king out of the way. Fairly often, in fact, they get the king out of the way. Yep. Sigh of relief, yeah. Oops, you're out of rook. And then frequently they resign. So let me just show you. This is actually really easy to avoid. First of all, one thing is don't play this against the English. Because the whole reason that thing works at all is that e4 move that prevents me defending f2, effectively. But I don't play e4 on move 1, so that isn't there, and I can just push e3 and all hell breaks loose. So if you throw in, and some people do this, d6. See, I actually hold back. Normally, theory at this point, in the line that I like to play, is to push e4. And you end up with this neat little sort of cup structure in the middle with d3 later. But I like to hold back on that. Well, usually. But okay, so let's just say I'm still holding back, even though actually my counterattack is no longer an option. So yeah. Now, I'm still preventing the attack. But I can't take this knight because the bishop is pointing right at it. It's defended. And now, Queen f6 is actually something of a threat, though actually not much of one. Because now I'm forking the queen and the bishop, and also defending f2 at the same time. So, if you try that mating attack that everyone's so interested in doing when they play Queen f6 like that, well, now white gets a queen for a queen and a knight for a knight, so that wasn't so very good. But I mean, really, so you obviously don't want to play that unless you think, unless you're fairly certain, because the other thing that this also ends up with is, actually, that's not true. Never mind. So, if you're going to try that against somebody playing the English, make sure that you push d6 or d5 first to defend that knight. Otherwise, you're just waving goodbye to the knight. It's sort of an uncompensated knight sacrifice. So this has been a public service announcement.